Alright, so we finally have an update on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth from the man himself, Yoshinori Kitase, who is not only the game's producer, but he's also now the brand manager for the entire Final Fantasy brand, which is huge. You know, talk about moving on up. The dude has hit the big time, and he's in charge of a lot. Now, before we get into it, on the outside, this update might seem pretty insignificant, and you might be thinking to yourself, what's the big deal? But I promise, I think this is a lot deeper than a lot of people are giving it credit for. So without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and get into this discussion. So this comes to us from the Final Fantasy VII Twitter account, the official one, and it's a developer comment starting with number 1, so I'm guessing this is going to be a series, but the question they ask Kitase is, how is development progressing on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? He responds, development is progressing smoothly and according to plan. We are currently working on nailing down a release date for the game. And I know what you guys are thinking, it's just a release date they're working, and that's not really that big of a deal. Why are you going nuts? Well, it is a big deal, and for 2 reasons in particular. If they're at the stage right now where they're nailing a release date down, like a firm one, that means this game is closer to being finished than we all thought it was. And that's taking into account everything that goes into making a game. Content creation, potential DLC plans, polishing, bug fixes, tons of QA internally, and maybe even outside sources with beta testing and whatnot. And you don't nail down a release date until you are confident that you are nearly finished with your game. Look at last year with Final Fantasy XVI. Almost all of us assumed that game was going to release last year during the summer, but they gave us that trailer and we were hit with a release date of 2023. And it wasn't even a firm release date. It was just a release year, and that game was still a year away. So if Rebirth is nailing down a firm release date, which I assume they are, this game is much closer to coming out than we all thought. Secondly, trying to nail down a release date would explain the game's absence. A lot of us assumed that Rebirth would show up at the PlayStation Showcase and make a huge splash, but it was nowhere to be seen. And this is kind of like the thing that Square seems to be working on recently, where they had this really big issue of announcing games, and then they would go dark for years and years and years, and we wouldn't have any updates on them, and people would get worried and concerned. Is this thing still happening? Has it been canceled? Is there a development hell going on? And you see it really with Final Fantasy XVI. Yoshi P was very much like, we're not going to release trailers and information until we are sure that this stuff is ready to go. And I think that's what Square is doing with 7 Rebirth. They don't want to just throw out a trailer and then leave it be like they did last year, where we got that trailer in June and then we didn't hear anything from the developers afterwards. I think they want to try and take a much more careful approach to really be like, hey, we've got stuff going on, we're much farther along with our development, we're working on that release date, and once we can nail that release date, we will be dropping so much more information. Now, this could also be smart because look at what happened with Final Fantasy VII Remake. That game suffered a month-long delay. It was initially going to come out in March of 2020, but unfortunately there was still much more polishing and bug fixes that needed to go on, which ended up delaying the game. But also there was the whole thing with COVID, and that delayed many projects as well, so that could have been a COVID thing, but I think they're also just trying to be cautious. Don't announce a release date until you are sure that this game is going to hit that date. Now, here's the last point I'm going to make, and this is a conspiracy theory point, so stay with me. I've got a lot of geometry and algebra and calculus formulas just flying around my head right now, trying to figure this out. This that we got today was a developer comment number 1. My first question: how many comments are we going to get? Maybe 7, with it being Final Fantasy VII. How often are these updates going to come out? Now, if we get an update tomorrow, and then we get one on Sunday, and then Monday, and then Tuesday, and if there are 7 total, that last update hits on June 8th. What happens on June 8th? Geoff Keighley Summer Games Fest. Now, Square Enix is listed as a partner for this event, but again, we need to keep our hype levels in check. We all got excited for the PlayStation Showcase because we assumed Rebirth would be there, and it was not there, and a lot of us were let down. So obviously check your hype levels for Rebirth and Summer Games Fest, but with Square Enix being at this event, these developer comments, if we get them consistently throughout the next few days, that leads into Summer Games Fest, and it's possible we could get a trailer there. Maybe even, they figured out the release date for all we know by then, or they drop some information on us. So anything can really happen at this point, and it's super exciting. So the fact that we got this update from Kitase is so exciting. I'm ready to cover this game from the ends of the earth to wherever I'm at now. Hit me with a Final Heaven. Final Fantasy 16 looks great. It's right around the corner. It's coming out. I'm sure the game will be incredible, but this right here, 7 Rebirth, the 7 franchise, this is my Super Bowl. I am so excited to talk about this game. I'm so excited to see a full official new trailer and to get some info dumps. And I think we're a lot closer to this game coming out than we all assumed. And again, the release date is winter of 2023, which again spans from end of this year all the way till the end of March of next year. So somewhere within that time frame, I would expect the game to hit, maybe as early as February or March. And before we end today's video, let's take a look at the poll that I posted a few days ago in regards to the next time we could possibly see Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. 20% of you said that yes, we will see it at Summer Games Fest 2023. 12% of you said that we could see a Final Fantasy VII Direct stream like they did last year with that anniversary special, and 68% of you said we're not going to see Rebirth until Final Fantasy XVI releases. So again, we're going to be keeping our eyes on the Summer Games Fest for any Rebirth news. It'll be interesting to see how they trickle out these developer comments and see what kind of questions are asked, what kind of answers we get. I think it's pretty exciting. With that being said, that is the video. I'm Curious Corduroy. Leave any of your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think I'm making a bigger deal out of this than it needs to be? Or is it as deep as I'm making it out to be? And let me know on a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Again, I cannot wait for this game to come out, and I just want a new trailer. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.